Now, Barack Obama's election has been a truly global event to judge from the scenes of excitement all over the world. It seems to many to validate the American dream that a person can come from nowhere and go anywhere. Specifically, that at last a man of black parentage can rise to the very top. Maybe it ought to raise questions in other parts of the world. Specifically, the question, could it happen in Britain? America, with its shameful history of racial segregation, has elected a black politician as its leader. How long before Britain might do the same? Tony Blair in 2001 suggested America presented opportunities to black politicians that Britain just doesn't.
I think of a black man, born in poverty, who became chief of their armed forces and is now Secretary of State, Colin Powell, and I wonder, frankly, whether such a thing could have happened here.
America has had a black Secretary of State for the past 8 years, whereas Britain has only ever seen 3 cabinet ministers. Is it just a numbers game? Black people make up 13% of the American population, but only 3% of the British one. Or is there something about American society which makes it intrinsically open, mobile and aspirational? Could we learn something? Well, Baroness Amos is still with us, I'm pleased to say, and we're also going to be joined in a moment or two by Dizzee Rascal, the well-known rapper and hip-hop artist. Now, Valerie Amos, could it happen in Britain?
I think after what happened yesterday in the United States, I'm much more hopeful that it could happen in Britain, because I think a whole generation of young people here in Britain think that it's possible because of what happened in America.
Dizzee Rascal, how does it seem to you?
It's positive. I think it's positive because he's mixed race as well. So he's an immediate symbol of unity. And I think, you know what, hip-hop played a big part in this as well. I don't think he could have won it without hip-hop. Hip-hop is what encouraged the youth to get involved in voting and making the place better. And he's the first president to embrace it.
Sorry to interrupt you, but, I mean, specifically, could you see this happening in Britain?
Yeah, in time.
You're rather positive.
Yeah, man, why not, man? First time for everything, and everything just takes time, man. If you believe, you can achieve, innit?
Valerie Amos, there are some people who say that there is a different kind of social dynamic at work in the United States, that it is much more built upon the possibility of achievement. The American dream is founded on the idea of betterment for the individual, despite this long history of racial discrimination. Is that a different dynamic to the one we find in our society?
Jeremy, I think that's true. I think that there is a language in America which is much more about dreaming and hoping, and it's much less cynical than the kind of language that we use here. But having said that, I think that Barack Obama has tapped into something which is not just about America, and it's become truly aspirational in terms of what our own young people think is possible. Now, I think there's a great deal more that we have to do in terms of the systems within our political parties, how we nurture people, encourage them to come through. It won't just happen without that kind of action. But I do feel much more optimistic today than I would have done 2 days ago.
Dizzee Rascal, do you believe in political parties in Britain?
Yeah, they exist. I believe in them. I don't know if I care. I mean, I don't know if it makes a difference, but you know what I mean? It is what it is. Politicians are going to say what they say. They might get every now and then the genuine one, innit? But I think people, like as a whole, make the difference. I don't think one person or one party can make the difference.
But in the end, you've already told us how excited you feel about the election of a black president. Clearly, an individual does make a difference, or can make a difference, can't they?
Yeah, to help boost the morale. But change comes from everybody coming together and making the difference.
Valerie Amos, why is it, do you think, that Britain has done so much... Yeah, all right, shoot, go on.
I think you need someone who taps into a kind of collective psyche, and that's precisely what Barack Obama has done. You could have a black prime minister in the United Kingdom who taps into that collective psyche, understands the concerns and issues of ordinary people, and that's the thing that makes the difference.
Why is it, do you think, Valerie Amos, that we have done in Britain so much better on gender than we have on race? I mean, you look at the number of black cabinet ministers, there have been 3 of you, haven't there? And yet we've had a female prime minister far ahead of many other countries in the world.
Because I think that we actually don't like to talk about race. It's a rather interesting thing. Spike Lee said today that race was a kind of integral part of American society. Here in the United Kingdom, it's something that we have kind of kicked under the carpet. We haven't wanted to talk about as a collective issue. We've made it into an issue which is about black people or ethnic minorities out there, rather than an issue that all of us need to address and talk about. And yet there are some ways as well in which we're a more integrated society than America. There are some very complex things going on. And what I think that we need to do is to have a much more open debate about Britishness. I think in the United States, for example, people are very clear about the fact that they are American. Here in the United Kingdom, we don't talk so much about the nature of Britishness and being British and the way that Britishness has changed as a result of the people who have come in here over the centuries. So moving that discussion forward
I'm going to
would be
interrupt
one
you there
way
just
of
a
taking
second
that.
or two, Valerie Amos. I'm just going to interrupt you there because I'd like to ask Dizzee Rascal. Mr. Rascal, do you feel yourself to be British?
Of course I'm British, man. You know me. I'm here, man. What's good? I think it don't matter what colour you are. It matters what colour your heart is, man, and your intentions. I think a black man, purple man, Martian man can run the country, whatever, man, as long as he does right by the people.
Well, why don't you run for office?
See, that's a very good idea. I might have to do that one day still. Dizzee Rascal for Prime Minister, yeah? What's happening?
Well, any other lessons that we could learn, Baroness Amos?
Well, I do think that we can be less cynical about the way that we discuss politics here. What was amazing in the United States was that so many people came out to vote, that really what Barack Obama tapped into was a kind of politicization of that country, and it would be great to see that here as well. People really engaged, talking about the issues, really wanting to see a difference, and feeling that their engagement would be able to make a difference.
Exactly. Barack Obama embraced hip-hop, man. He embraced hip-hop. That's the way he got through to the kids. And there was a more young vote than ever. And it's through hip-hop.
OK, thanks very much indeed.